Do you believe in reincarnation? Do you remember memories from your past life? Well, the kids I'm about to talk about on today's list sure do, and their stories are very creepy. From a kid who claims to be the reincarnation of his uncle, to another that came back to get justice on his killer. Let's talk about this and more only in today's video. Top 10 parallel stories of kids who remembered a past life. Starting off this countdown, we have the hit and run. One day, a woman named Julie was out shopping with her daughter Lily. While out, Lily unexpectedly turned to her mom and said, "That car hit me." She pointed to one of the cars in the parking lot. She asked her daughter what she meant, and she continued on saying, and I quote, "Before I lived with you and daddy, I lived with another mommy and daddy." She continued on saying she remembers her blood running cold. Now that's pretty dark for a 4-year-old to say, but she didn't stop there. Over the course of that day, she kept telling about how she died. She remembered seeing a red car, being hit, and then seeing ambulances. She also remembers her feet hurting. And her daughter got more and more uncomfortable as she started recounting more information. So Julie believes that her daughter was remembering memories from her past life. I don't even know what to say about this one. Like, that's pretty terrifying for the daughter and the mom. In our 9th spot today, we have the life in India. Back in 2009, a young boy from Canada went to his parents' hometown in India for the first time. But as he was there, he started to grow really uncomfortable. He got to the point where he didn't even recognize his own mother and father, and insisted he belonged to another family. He also insisted that he had been to this hometown before, claiming that that was where he was born and raised. In fact, he eventually was able to describe his old home in immense detail. He proceeded to say that his name was Ram and that he passed away at the age of 29 from a hole in the heart. He also claims that he had 3 brothers and a sister. While using the description, they were actually able to locate a real family there that matched the boy's description. In fact, the man's name was Ram, and he passed away 30 years prior to the boy being born. He too also had 3 brothers and a sister. That is just some freaky crap right there. In our 8th spot, we have Arthur Flowerdew. And if you guys are liking this video so far and you want to see more content like it, then make sure you smash that like button and obviously subscribe to our channel. Please and thank you. When Arthur Flowerdew was a kid, he would have detailed dreams about a large city surrounded by a desert. He remembered there being a temple, a canyon, streets, and buildings. He even remembered the exact way that this city was laid out. Well, he thought nothing of it until he was older and was watching a documentary about the ancient city of Petra. He immediately recognized the place. It was the city he saw in his dreams as a kid. He actually ended up flying to the city, but before that, he was quizzed by an archaeologist who knew about the city in great detail. Arthur got all the questions right, as if he had been there before. When he arrived, he was able to point out major landmarks and revealed information about the place without doing prior research. Plus, he knew information about the ancient city that no normal person would have known. So, it's believed that Arthur once lived there in his past life. Coming in at number 7, we have Virginia Woolf. This next girl might have been famous writer Virginia Woolf in her past life, or in another universe, whatever you want to believe. Basically, when this girl was 12, she would have dreams about being underwater and seeing faces underwater. No one thought much of it until she couldn't stop talking about Virginia Woolf. Like she knew way too much facts about her without even doing research on her. So her mom decided to do some digging of her own. And that's when she found that the same night that her daughter was having those dreams was the anniversary of Virginia's death. How did she die? By drowning herself. Not only that, there are a lot of similarities that Virginia and this girl share. For example, they're both prolific writers and they are both bisexual. So she believes that her daughter was Virginia Woolf in her past life. In our 6th spot, we have the Ballerina. When this next boy was around 3 or 4 years old, he kept talking about how he used to be a ballerina. He would go on and on about how he would perform on stage. He even shared intense detail about the lights, to the music, and even the crowd. But sadly, he also remembers how he died. He told his mom that he was attending a party on a boat when he fell into the water and presumably drowned. He then said that the next thing he remembered was being here with his new family. Now, of course, his mom was just like, oh, haha, my son has such a wild imagination. But a week later, when his dad came home from a business trip, he told him the exact same story with the exact same detail that he told his mom. And that's pretty odd for a kid that age. They make up stuff all the time and then forget about it within a couple of days. Clearly, this means that his son was reincarnated. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with JB, not Justin Bieber. When this kid was 3 or 4, he randomly turned to his grandpa and said, JB, do you remember when we went bar hopping in Australia between island campaigns during the war, and I tried to flirt with the brown-haired Australian girl before I died on that island? Keep in mind, this came from a 3-year-old. What kid that age, first of all, knows what bar hopping is, and also knows what war campaigns are? Like what? Now obviously his grandpa was taken aback from this because A, JB was his grandpa's initials that he went by, but that little kid didn't know, he only ever called him grandpa. And 2, apparently during World War II, him and his friends would go bar hopping, and one time one of his friends tried to flirt with a brown-haired Australian girl. He later passed away in the Philippines. His grandpa never told his family that story before, let alone his grandson. So that's freaking weird. Maybe he really is the reincarnation of his grandpa's friend. Coming in at number 4, we have the Scottish pub. One day, a family in Scotland decided to stop off at a pub in a small village. Immediately upon arriving, their 4-year-old son goes, "Oh, my favorite place!" And his family was all like, haha, oh that's so cute, because he's never been there before. First off, his dad needed to use the bathroom, and the boy then took his dad's hand and was like, I'll just take you there. And without any help, he brought his dad to the bathroom, which, may I add, was tricky to anyone that hasn't been there before because it's not labeled and it's hidden behind this wall in the back. After that, more unusual things started to happen. Like, there was no fireplace in the pub, but the little boy was all like, I loved coming here and sitting beside the fire. And his family was like, okay my dude, chill with the imagination, okay, there's no fireplace here. But he insisted that there used to be one against a wall, and then he pointed to the wall. The bar staff later said that that was true, there indeed was a fireplace there at some point. But wait, it gets freakier. The boy went on to talk about the owner of the place and his dear friend Fred. He was also right about this. Fred was the owner there but passed away over 10 years ago. So how did this kid know all this information? Obviously, he used to visit this pub a lot in his past life. Moving on to number 3, we have the kid who solved his own murder. This story will forever leave me baffled. Like, I heard about this when I was young and it's constantly on my mind. I'm serious. It first began when a 3-year-old boy started telling his parents that he was murdered in his past life. He claims that he was killed after someone took an axe to his head. What's freaky is that this boy had a long birthmark on his head. It was in the same location he said that he got axed. I've said this before in other videos, but birthmarks are said to be like a symbol of how you died in your past life. Anyways, his parents didn't believe him until he literally took them to the village he said he once lived in and took him to the exact spot where he got killed. Well, guess what? After digging in that area, they unearthed a skeleton of a man with an axe wound in his skull. Does not stop there though, folks, it does not. The kid also remembered who the killer was and his full name. They then confronted him and eventually he did admit to the crime. So this dude literally got reincarnated to come back and get revenge on his killer. It's pretty badass. In our second spot, we have Banjo. This next kid might be the reincarnation of his uncle. So basically, he was 5 years old at the time and randomly asked his mom where Banjo was. Banjo was the name of her family dog that she grew up with, but she never told her son about him because he passed away in a tragic way. Basically, one day during a flash flood, her brother got stuck in the middle of a raging river. He was sitting on a rock and Banjo jumped into the water to try and rescue him, but sadly he got swept away by the current. Rest in peace, Banjo, we don't deserve dogs. Anyways, her brother was very distraught about losing Banjo. Those two were super close. And then, sadly, 2 years later after the incident, he lost his life while cycling. Now, how did her son know about Banjo? Well, she believes that he is the reincarnation of her brother. In fact, apparently the two both have eerie similarities. For example, they both like the same things. They have the same favorite color and like the same food. And they both like to sing. So she literally gave birth to her brother, which is really weird to say when I put it that way. And And in our number 1 spot, we have the Chicago fire. This next story was shared by a woman named Erica Ruhlman. When her son Luke was 5 years old, he would always say that he remembers he was once a girl named Pam. He described himself as having black hair and wore earrings like his mom did. When his mom asked more about this, he said he used to be Pam and then died and went to heaven. He then said, and I quote, "Eventually God pushed me back down, and when I woke up, I was a baby and you named me Luke." Luke also said that he used to live in Chicago, where he would take the train a lot, but he said he passed away in a fire. When talking about it, Luke made the motion indicating that he jumped out of the window, or Pam jumped out of the window. After Erica did some research, she found that in March of 1993, the Paxton Hotel in Chicago had a fire. The freakiest part? A woman named Pam Robinson died after she jumped out the window trying to escape the fire. Coincidence? I think not. Alright guys, that's all for today's video. Let me know in the comments below which one of these stories creeped you out the most. And also let me know, do you remember your past life? Let me know. And now, speaking of comments, let's move quickly along to our comment shoutout portion. I'll be shouting out comments from the video top 10 people who used voodoo for evil. Scarlett Afton commented, "Congrats on 7 mil! Sorry if I'm late." Oh, you're never late, don't worry. Better late than never. Thank you so much. Woo, celebrate. Anyway, Kari W commented, "Now do people who used voodoo for good?" Honestly, I should, because there's actually a lot of people that still use voodoo today, and it's in a good way, you know? It's not actually something to be feared, except for when evil people get control anyway. Sarah Lindsay commented, "Hi." Hi, Sarah Lindsay. I like your last name, or middle name. It's a really good name. Just saying. Alright guys, that's all the comments I'm shouting out for today's video. Make sure to comment something down below for a chance to be featured in my next comment shout out. And as always, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to Most Amazing Top 10 for more amazing videos. I've been your host, Lindsay Ivan, and I'll see ya when I see ya.